So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true. Good evening and welcome to the Traffic Report. It's 12:04 in the Eastern Time Zone, and it's raining in Washington, D.C. And if it keeps on raining, Howie, the levee's going to break. How are you?
Good. I don't know how many people know that song, but yeah, the levee is definitely breaking. Just as the news is breaking every day. Of course, if you watch, mainstream media tonight, like I did for pretty much 4 straight hours, you would think most of the news just revolved around the President of the United States and the Russia investigation. But they managed to slip in a little Al Franken along the way.
Yeah, which I'm feverishly looking for. He told a very interesting joke, and I'm trying to find that right now.
Oh, you can't find it?
Oh, I'll find it. It was Rob Reiner. Oh, Rob Reiner. That's the guy that is accused of raping Corey Haim, isn't it?
Well, I don't know what exactly.
Not officially, but
yeah. But it just seems as though he's just another one. First of all, he's been a commentator on MSNBC on Joy Reid's show, AM Joy. He's been on there several times, and he just rails against Trump, every chance he gets. He's a complete shill for the Democratic Party, and I just get very suspicious of anybody that, particularly from Hollywood. I mean, I understand if you have political views, but to the point where, why Rob Reiner? I mean, yeah, he was on All in the Family, 50 years ago, 45 years ago. He was a big Hollywood director. He directed a lot of, famous movies. But, I mean, 20-somethings don't really know who he is. And he just comes out every day. And so, apparently he's good enough friends with Al Franken that Al Franken would show up at, one of his, at the Friars roast for him and tell a baby rape joke about him.
Yeah, I think I might have found it. Let me see here. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, the audio, YouTube people were talking that YouTube was taking down the clip. It's hard to find a very clear clip of it, and to find like a full length Rob Reiner roast is nearly impossible. But two clips of
let's see what we have here. Let's hear this. Let's see.
Okay.
Baby, Rob was routinely beaten by his father, Carl. On a typical night, Carl would slip into Rob's bed, roll him over, swab him down, and say something like, "I'm thinking about hiring Maury Amsterdam to play Buddy Sorrell. What do you think?" Success of the Dick Van Dyke Show changed things dramatically. Carl started inviting many of his famous friends to son.
Wow.
Yeah, there was actually a little bit more to it. Like I said, if you can it's hard to find the full clip, but that's pretty much all that exists. The 1 minute of Rob Reiner's father. I just, on what planet, is this considered, funny? There's always been certain things you just don't make jokes about, children is one of them, old people, people with disabilities, certain events, like you don't make like Holocaust jokes, but in Al Franken's world, his father invited.
It's funny for him to get in his kid's bed and invite his friends over to fuck him. I think that's what was bleeped out there.
Yes,
wow.
That's exactly.
Wow.
And that's also why it's very difficult to find copies of that, on YouTube. So maybe the what's happened, the allegations today, maybe some people will be able to start digging up a little bit more.
And I don't know what I have found, and I think you found this too through our research, that the people who do this kind of stuff, whether it's raping children or sexually assaulting women, or it's never just one. It never is.
Oh, wow. Absolutely no. Oh yeah. So Al Franken goes on this USO tour, and he's been the model citizen, respecting women his entire life, and
yeah.
And then decides to have
one bad decision.
But right, and the way she described it, there was going to be a scene where he was going to kiss her on stage. Part of the joke. What's funny about it? Who knows? But Al Franken insisted that they practiced this scene. They practiced the joke, And so she's like, okay. So they go backstage, and before she can, he just plants one on her, starts kissing her with tongue, and she was like, well,
Ugh.
yeah.
Yeah, she said something about she ran to the bathroom to get the taste of his mouth out of that. Ugh. God damn.
Right. So no, that's not something that you haven't done before.
Well, and Howie, we're a little different. We're a little older, but the people that I know, and probably the people that you know, if that was a family member that he did that to, he would have been beat within an inch of his life. Just straight up. And then like Joe Pesci says in Casino, we're stupid. We don't give a fuck about jail. It's like if that's your family member, or probably even somebody we knew, or somebody we didn't know. If you see a woman getting sexually assaulted, that guy is going to get a beating, at least.
And apologize because I'm not remembering the woman's name, and she works in media in Los Angeles. But just as in an open secret, her reasoning for not coming forward at the time was that people were in her ear that said, if you can go after him, but you'll never work again.
Yeah. And it just, that whole culture, and I mean, I used to like Saturday. I mean, and really, early Saturday Night Live with Belushi and Aykroyd and all those guys. And it wasn't like that. I mean, it wasn't like that. You didn't have The Rock making jokes about pedophilia. They were talking about, remember the robot, molesting.
Yeah, the child, right? The most evil invention in the world, the child molesting robot.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's what it's come down to, and he was on that show back then, but it wasn't anything like that. It wasn't. They took political shots. They were, it was funny. I mean, they had really good material, and I guess it's just that whole culture. I don't understand, where a lot of that comes from. It's just
here's the thing. In that respect, if you're, and I get it, if it's satire and you're trying to create the most evil thing in the world, okay. So on some level there is a comic element, but what you have to stop and say is, wait a second, we could pick a lot of things. We could pick a lot of things, and knowing what we know, there's going to be people out there that this is going to hurt. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt the average guy on the street because it didn't happen to him, but all the victims and all the survivors,
wouldn't find that very.
And that's why, right? And that's why, right? If it existed in a vacuum and it didn't, child molestation didn't happen, but it was potential to happen. Okay, you can make a joke about it because it doesn't affect anyone. It's the same thing that you don't make, I guess you don't make Holocaust jokes, right?
Well, Larry David did it last week on the thing.
Yeah, you know what? I saw that and I never even picked up on, that. But yeah, I didn't hear the joke or whatever. But I mean, they're starting to just go to like the lowest common denominator. I mean, that's not what like that's cheap humor.
Yeah, and it makes me angry because what I've noticed happening, with us and what we're doing, there's got to be probably 10 more survivors that are now on the Twitter feed and contacting us on Facebook, and do they live in a vacuum? I mean, there are millions of these survivors, and they're, whatever world they live in, which is not one I care to live in, is making these jokes, and it's just.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we're this is all well and good. Like, let them have their, because right now, once again, it's the sexual harassment. The Charlie Sheen, Corey Haim thing has been out, and that got lost in the shuffle. Reese Witherspoon came out and said she was sexually abused when she was 14 or 16. Marlee Matlin has come out. Those have gotten by the wayside. See, they're burying that stuff. So it's okay. Let them, and I'm going to say, like, the liberals are all, because they've all, between the Women's March and everything, the sexual harassment, and they're all about.
Yeah, where is the outrage? Where is
they're outraged. The Rock could not have had, the most evil invention in the world. It couldn't have been like a wife beating robot, or a fondling robot. The people would have been up in arms about that. But somehow, child molestation, that's okay for them.
Yeah.
Like, so it's okay. It's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming in drips and drabs, unfortunately. But it's opening up a door, and we just need to keep pushing. We're pushing.
And the most encouraging thing about what I've saw just in the last couple of days is that it's reaching into DC, and that's where it needs to be. Oh, and this is, remember we talked, and those indictments, they're up. There's over 1,000 nationwide that are sealed right now, and I think this was probably planned. The ones that are in DC just got filed. So whoever, if Wasserman Schultz's brother wants to, alert these people, it's a little late. So they're even these indictments are popping up in the DC federal jurisdiction now. So that's and just unseal them. I was hoping by tonight and that we'd be talking about some pretty big names that had been arrested, and that hasn't happened yet. But they're on their own timetable, and I'm not gonna second guess what they're doing. Something is being done, obviously, and we gave Sessions a couple of kicks during the last 6 months, and obviously he's been busy doing something, and those indictments are there, and Trump is not going to what some of the 4-channel stuff that comes out, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're not going to get an announcement from Donald Trump. That's it. He has to stay above that fray, understandably. Sure. And
this is complicated.
If they're there, and they are there, that's the one thing that we know. Over 1,000 now. They're going to be unsealed at some point, and people will be getting arrested. May have already been put into custody. The Tony Podesta is AWOL, and I don't think he's out of the country. And little Johnny is he got silent on Twitter all of a sudden. He's not rearing his ugly little head. So they're insiders, people with a lot more resources than we have in the intelligence community and others, keep reassuring us that this is on a timetable, and unfortunately it's not quick enough for me, but I'm not in charge of it, and that's probably a good thing, because I probably would get into trouble being in that position.
Right, but we understand how complicated this is. We understand, when it whether DC is a swamp, a cesspool, whatever the case may be, and deep state throughout all the agencies, the court system, judges. I mean, everywhere. You have to be very meticulous in the way you do these things. It's way, we couldn't even comprehend it, but. Obviously, things are happening, and we just, where we were 2-3 months ago. I mean, we've, things have, gone so much quicker than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can't pretend like, we can't pretend like we know, like who knows how, I would, like I said, I'm in it for whatever, 5 years, 10 years, and whatever the case may be. But we've accelerated the process, and it is because people can feel comfortable speaking out, and whether it's child sex abuse, sexual sex abuse, rape, of any kind right now, the people on social media and starting with Pizzagate have changed the climate, and mainstream media doesn't want to talk about this, but now they're forced to, and because and it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, and it need what tonight is Rome is burning, and it is, and whether you can, sometimes those fires smolder, and the A1 scandal and Menendez and old Johnny McCain's foundation, which is looking like a money laundering operation. I don't know if you've read about any of that, but and he's got. I tweeted out today he's got more problems than NASA, and he's got a new physical malady every day, and they know what that is. I mean, he's trying to reduce his culpability when the indictment finally comes, but his foundation, they're tying right into the Clinton Foundation. I'll be damned, his arch enemy, and as a money laundering venture, possibly involved in child trafficking and laundering money for that going on. I think we talked about this a little bit, but the whole Saudi thing is just so big. I don't think people understand that, and the links to the corruption in this country. And that princess, I'm for next week, I'm going to be digging into this book that the Saudi princess wrote, that basically has outed all of these ties with the child trafficking networks and the drug trafficking and the organ trafficking and all these, whether it's McCain, absolutely the Clinton Foundation, and probably Soros are just directly linked into it's all it's the rat lines. It's what George Webb has been talking about for a year, and more, and it's all coming to light. So that's a relief, and they need to figuratively burn the Capitol to the ground. That's the way I look at it. You can't, the system itself is intact, but they need a neutron bomb to take out the corruption and the level of corruption, because our system works. It's the corruption that has made it an unworkable proposition. So
as you were just talking about all those different things, where it's Saudi Arabia, Clinton Foundation, McCain Foundation, I go back a year, when Pizzagate breaks, and basically it was kind of like two-pronged. You had like the Podesta emails, and you had this guy James Alefantis, who owns a shop and who has an Instagram, and and you sort of branched off from there. Podesta's connections, his story, who James Alefantis was. Now, trying to keep up with the research and the things that are uncovered and the stories. Wow, it is absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, there's a big, it's going on the Twitter feed right now in our notifications. I got a chance to tweet back and forth with a gentleman by the name of Christopher Cronsel, and he's a survivor of these cults, and he knows the history, and we talk about Bill Cooper and Mystery Babylon, going back to Egyptian times and probably even further than that. But he's in there, Christopher, right now, just explaining all this. That's what it is. I'll just read his tweet. This cult, like all others of this nature, drilled down to the Hivite people from ancient Egypt. The original family still exists through careful intermarriage and ridiculous family system psychology. Those families are the architects of civilization through deep state rule. Black and white. It couldn't get any more simpler than that. And they're, I guess, what they're tweeting about is Colorado and Denver, where they have that underground airport with the weird dead children murals in the Denver airport. And I would bet that facility is being used as a hub for child trafficking. So a lot of stuff going on, and it's all coming to light, and it will. There's just like we were saying, it's it's a snowball, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and when it hits, right, it's going to be really moving, and it's going to be really big.
Well, why we're sticking to the Midwest? A friend of mine, I've known him on Twitter for a long time. He's not the most prolific tweeter. He's at Sharp Edge 42. His name's Tim McIlharney.
Yes, and he had some great stuff. Yeah,
he's great when he tweets. He's back. Yeah, it's right. So I always check, and it's not. He's not tweeting every day. He's not commenting. He tweets. Well, he put together a Nebraska thread. Well, obviously, the Franklin case, Franklin scandal, and now he's made. He found the connection between Warren Buffett and Larry King.
Absolutely. God damn.
And then he's going on, and I know from going to Penn State, the president of Penn State, Graham Spanier, during the Sandusky, and Spanier went to prison for 3 months for obstruction or whatever they got him on. But Spanier's from Nebraska. He was the president of the University of Nebraska before he came to Penn State. And, so he put together a thread, and now it's just like, now it's time to revisit Nebraska. And then someone else who I respect on Twitter said, I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska for, a period of time. And I'm telling you, it is one weird place. And I'm like, I mean,
Belly of the Beast, dude. Offutt Air Force Base. Oh my God. That's Aquino, DynCorp, Larry King, Warren Buffett, and what I'm doing right now is I'm posting the Franklin cover up in the Twitter line, because it's all in there. It's meticulously documented, backed up by evidence, and an incredible amount of evidence in that book that John DeCamp wrote. So I'm going to put that in there, and that's what I was thinking when I saw those tweets from Tim today, and I was like, yep.
Oh, he did it, and it wasn't showing up on his timeline, and I'm so smart, so I went to him because he was responding, all his tweets were as a response, so it doesn't show up on your front page. It goes in the tweets and replies, so it was all in the replies. So I said, Tim, this is so good. Why don't you number these tweets? And he has 30 tweets about Omaha, Nebraska, and 30 of them, all these connections, and it's definitely worth the read. And it's his Twitter is Sharp Edge 42.
Yep, and I will tag him in the Franklin scandal tweet, and it's a free PDF that you can own and just put into your little device and read it, please.
Yeah, my head's spinning. Did you hear about Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, and didn't he come out a few days ago talking about how bad this all was and blah blah blah?
I don't know, man. Anybody? Man, this is going to be coming fast and furious. But there was another. I just lost the tweet, but a woman who was at a Stallone did a Vanity Fair shoot back in the mid '80s, and she was a 13-year-old girl that was on the beach, and and she said that her tweet, and she's a verified account. She said, you did this more than once. Her tweet was that a lifeguard came over to her, and Stallone told, speaking on behalf of Stallone, said I'm not going to get into what he said. I'll try and find the front tweet again. But she was 13 years old when the lifeguard came over to her on behalf of Sylvester Stallone because of what he wanted to do to her. You're talking about verified accounts. You're not talking about like nobodies. And this is going to be a daily thing. And I think one thing that we can do is make sure that things do not get lost in the shuffle, and be loud as possible, because mainstream media is not going to cover this. It's just not. They're just not going to cover it.
Well, yeah, and they're being forced to in some ways. You're getting dribs and drabs out of NBC a little bit out, but you read the stories and they're all slanted to minimize what's going on, and it's just disgusting. They certainly want to distract from the fact that this is happening to children. Yeah. And something to think about too. These deep state assholes. They're cornered rats, and whatever false flag. And some of the stuff on 4chan is about a huge false flag. On the level of 9/11. So I mean, all these things are possible. And I'm thinking though that the people Trump is surrounded by, like Mattis and others, are all over this, and they've probably they've probably headed off already, of something really horrible happening. But these little ones, there's cells, there are the amount of these damaged people that they have to do these things is, these assholes have been doing this, since the 1950s. So we have, you have to be alert. This could go either way. That's another reason why, I'm really impatient on getting these names out there and getting them behind bars, because I think if when that starts to happen, any of these operatives that are left over, we'll see how futile it is to continue with what they're doing, whether they're in the intelligence service or working for them or whatever. That can't happen soon enough. Did I say that before?
Well, false flags are obviously going to be in order, and I don't know if Trump can stop all the false flags, but I don't think something on the scale of 9/11 is possible. I mean, if this was happening under the Clinton administration, I would say I'd say absolutely, but I'm not.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That was some. My favorite tweet for today is I got a crazy picture of Hillary. I played that disgusting video where she's saying an investigation against her, the Clinton Foundation, is an abuse of power. Oh, okay, Hillary. So she looks horrible. She's on this. Mother Jones is interviewing her. It's pathetic, and so I took a quote right out of that interview, which was she was as Secretary of State traveling the world telling how great the rule of law is. So I quoted that and put in brackets. Yeah, she was doing that while she was covering up a pedophile scandal at the State Department. Not to mention running arms and kids and probably organs through Libya and Syria and bombing children and so the meme is it's a direct quote from Skippy about how she smells like a cross between cabbage, dry urine, and farts. So that was my favorite tweet that I tweeted today. I love that meme, and I will continue to tweet it until she's behind bars.
Along those lines, I called. I saw something about. I don't know if it was about Laura Silsby or Hillary, and I had called Alert Sense before, and I got to Laura Gaynor's or Gaylor's voicemail, and I don't think I left a message, but in the last few months, Alert Sense had changed their website to where Laura Gaylor is no longer listed on the website. So there's a speculation.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, where she was prominently featured as a vice president of marketing. She's no longer listed on the website. So there's a speculation: does she still work for them? So I called today. I didn't disguise my voice, but I didn't call. I didn't call my normal. Yeah, I speak to Laura Gale. I was like, it was basically like, hi, I'm trying to reach a Laura Gale. I was just trying to, I don't know, I was trying to, gay it up a little bit. I don't know what I was trying to do, but it came across that way. So, reception. I got to the receptionist, and she, I said, my name's Howard Smith, and she's like, is she expecting your call? I was like, oh, probably. So
probably.
So she sends me through, and I get a voicemail, but there's a man's voice on it. Please leave a message. So I'm like, what just happened here? Now I've called, like I said, I've called before, and I've gotten Laura Gaylor's voicemail, and it was like,
oh my God.
Oh yeah, it was really creepy too. But it may have been her cell phone. It was like, hi, this is Laura Gaylor. Like it was almost like phone sex. It was very strange.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get this. I get this voicemail, and I'm like, I don't feel good about this. So I call back, and I said, hi, you just sent me through to Laura's voicemail, but it was a man's, voice on, So I was like, is that? She's like, she gives me this story that's the voicemail for the entire office. It'll go to the box, but they just, that's the way they do it. They don't have their own voicemails. I was like, okay. And she kind of like hung up on me, and I called back a third time, and I said, I'm almost positive I've gotten through to her actual voicemail. I've heard her voice on the voicemail, and she's very uncomfortable at this point.
Yeah, getting a little uncomfortable.
But she sent me through, and I did get Laura Gaylor's voicemail. So
it took you 3 attempts. So they're not trying to hide anything, are they?
Yeah, well, when I asked for her, she seemed a little, thrown off. But anyway, I did get through. So she still has something to do with the company, even though she's been taken. That was the whole point of it. I left a voicemail. I don't anticipate her calling me back, but I left my number. I left my name and my number, but but apparently she still works for him. So that's.
Yeah, I'm on. I think Traffic Report is blocked by Alert Sense, or you know what? They might have unblocked it. I'm checking that right now. I thought I was blocked too, but apparently I'm not. We are. I think it's Traffic Report 2 is blocked by Kevin Spacey, which we're proud of.
But and all this stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like we have, Kevin Spacey alone be this massive story, and then just things are going to get lost in the shuffle here. When you have names like Sylvester Stallone, Kevin Spacey, senators. I mean, come on,
those sneaky bastards. Let me see. I think they might, when we tweeted about them blocking us, they might have unblocked us because I got to check Traffic Report 2 now to see if.
I can call in with a different voice and ask why we're blocked.
I think they unblocked us, and they're backpedaling, So apparently somebody's reading some of our tweets. The stuff about an open secret being shadow banned, they are no longer shadow banned. So somebody is paying attention. It's like, oh, we might look bad. It's like, well, Twitter, you already look bad. Okay, here we go. Nope. Those sneaky bastards, because I know that for a fact. We were blocked by I think it was my personal account, and one of the Traffic Report accounts was blocked by AlertSense. We are no longer blocked because when they blocked us, I tweeted out with whatever account wasn't blocked about them blocking us. So very, very slippery of you, AlertSense, Agent Starling, as Hannibal used to say.
They're paying attention. I mean, they've known for a year that people were all over the Laura Silsby thing.
So you know what I'm going to do tomorrow?
I mean, what's that?
I'm going to ask them when Laura Silsby is going to return your phone call. I'm going to tweet at them. Probably get blocked again.
I mean, I doubt she even works there. I mean, but what is going on? I mean, she's such a liability, and
lightning rod.
Right, and it's been and it's obviously been exposed. Why would they not immediately cut ties and say she no longer works here? We don't know really. At least they can say no comment, or I mean, what is it to them to keep her around? Well, makes no sense.
When they start getting rid of them, they have to answer too. So it's really, they're all damned if they do and damned if they don't.
Well, I mean, it's not going to make national headlines. She could just go away.
I don't. Yeah, but somebody's going to find out. Somebody will find out.
No. Either way, I think it's more of a liability to keep her around. And why? Why was she working?
Al Franken hasn't blocked me yet. Oh, there's speaking.
Al Franken's been busy all day making apologies. His first apology wasn't good enough. But
let me see. I'm checking. That's the first. Is that his? Did he have the gall to pin that tweet? Okay. So let's see. I want to apologize to Leanne Tweed and to everyone who was part of the USO tour, to all that have worked for me, to all I represent, to all I've considered me an ally and supporter and champion of women. I am sorry. Yeah, we agree. We agree. You are sorry, Al. You're a sorry sack of shit, and you can't apologize for sexual assault. Sorry, pal. So anyway, wow.
But I mean, hopefully, the way even the other Democratic senator from Minnesota distanced herself from Al Franken today, what's in Gillibrand from New York. Gillibrand from New York even went as far to say as she thinks Bill Clinton should have resigned based on his allegations. So. Yeah. Like the Democrats are in all kinds of, if you want to make it somewhat political, they're in all kinds of scramble mode because they're the champion of, women's rights. And I mean, they can't lose the women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, if Al Franken's got to go, Al Franken's got to go. Like, they can't lose that, they can't piss off liberal women.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they've lost most of the black community, which is great. That's about time,
I wouldn't say. Well, if you listen,
maybe not.
If you listen to C-SPAN, there's people that are just calling in. They're so unbelievably brainwashed. But now people, I believe the African American community is waking up big time because. It took a little while, and always go back to that. When I remember it was a Thursday night, and I believe he was in Ohio, or Wisconsin, and Trump uttered those words, "What do you got to lose?" And I remember where I was when I was watching. I was like, I mean, that was just absolutely brilliant. And take a look around. What do you have to lose? These Democratic controlled cities. I mean, Philadelphia's been under Democratic control 100% since
New York, De Blasio, disaster.
Yeah, Detroit.
That guy is such a douche. I mean, but yeah, we talked about that. They've gentrified the cities. They and they're so compassionate that they basically made a lot of low income people homeless during their gentrification, and they moved in liberal yuppies that work for the tech companies and the government and the infrastructure that supports the corruption and the child trafficking. And they have very nice places to live in New York and Philly, and a lot of those people are just displaced, and they could give a shit, about it. But I wanted to read a little bit of this. There's a New York Post put out a great article on.
I just wanted to tell a quick story. When we went up to Hillary was doing she did 2 book signings in New York. One was in Brooklyn. I went up to one in Brooklyn. So after the book signing, the person I was with, we were getting ready to walk back, and we just met this woman, and we just started talking, and she was a black woman from I want to say like Bermuda, Barbados, an island in the Caribbean, and we were talking for like an hour, and just she was explaining the whole situation, that she lived in this section of Brooklyn, in the 80s when it was in real bad shape, and lived there for a long time, and basically she got priced, until she got priced out, and it was just this story of all the the young liberal Brooklynites and stuff, and how they're for every people, but when basically they took over a neighborhood that these people worked hard to keep together during the tough times, and then as soon as things start to turn around, they get kicked out, and she doesn't live in Brooklyn anymore. She had to move to Jersey. So it was just just a story of the gentrification. I met somebody that absolutely positively happened to.
Yeah, and one last Hillary alert. Apparently, she turned up at a Department of Energy facility in Colorado today to give a speech, which is really, really odd. And the Anons that are on 4chan apparently have somebody in that facility that is doing something, and I don't.
Cool.
So that
why would she turn? I mean, I don't even want to know.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was Los Alamos, but they were tweeting about it, and there were pictures coming from inside the facility from somebody that the Anons had on the inside. So I'm sure they're keeping an eye on her, which is good. And God knows they may be
John, she really needs to stay home, because if she keeps going out, she's just opening herself up to a lot of ridicule.
Yeah, not to mention that smell. Jesus, give people.
Right.
Oh my God.
Well,
that's probably the best email that Podesta ever sent. I mean, his good buddy, his loyal friend. Talking about her like she's the piece of garbage that she is. So, thank you, Skippy, for that.
She keeps showing up in public. Eventually, somebody's going to say something to her, John.
Yeah. They smell like cabbage. But I want to talk about this, and it looks like with a hung jury that and there's really more to it than that. But the influence that has been used to try to get this guy off is just that it's disgusting. And I'm just reading just Google or DuckDuckGo Menendez trial. This is a New York Post article, and actually which I didn't realize, there's been a Supreme Court decision that almost guarantees that he gets off on these charges. But at any rate, this is Abby Lowell talking in closing in defense of Bob Menendez. Gifts to cultivate friendship are not bribes. The Biz Markie defense, he's just a friend, worked. Lowell was worth every penny of the $4.5 million raised and spent by Menendez's legal defense trust. So this asshole is speaking in this scumbag's defense and raised $4.5 million to defend him. Okay, and they managed to get a hung jury. But guess what, Bob? I don't know if you read the newspaper either, but in this climate, you're going to get tried again. And but just read this article. His co-defendant, Salomon Melgen, left the courtroom and went back to jail, where he's awaiting sentencing on 67 counts of Medicare fraud. Gee, I wonder why we can't have health care for everybody in this country. Menendez enjoyed ready access to Melgen's private jets, luxury resorts, financed by that Medicare fraud. And the New Jersey senator went all the way up the chain to the Secretary of Health and Human Services to keep the money flowing. So Washington, D.C. is just a sewer. And, this is all out in the open, all out in the open. And Menendez is using the money for prostitutes and I think underage prostitutes. And I mean, this is just so totally screwed. But, I think this is the first of cases. And like I said, the climate has changed. It got a frost has developed in the country, and these corrupt child raping, child trafficking scumbags are the piper is going to be paid soon, and I hope every one of them is in one of those sealed indictments, and there's 1,000 of them at least. So unseal the indictments soon, please, somebody.
It's just incredibly strange times.
Oh, here, one more little thing out of this, and a shout out to Trish and George Webb and Jason. Tried to steer a lucrative port security contract to the eye doctor, had no security background. Customs and Border Protection official Stephanie Talton testified that she found it odd Menendez would ask us to stop our law enforcement mission. So for Bob's buddies and to make the ports like Swiss cheese, so they can do their trafficking and their rat line business, they have risked the national security of the United States of America. That sounds like treason to me. So, just disgusting.
Well, I don't. I hope we haven't heard the end of this Menendez thing. Unfortunately, thanks to mainstream media, we haven't heard the beginning of it because for a trial of that magnitude, it got absolutely no coverage on the television.
Here's the worst part, and the Supreme Court is to blame for this. And it's in this article. It would appear after the Supreme Court's decision in the Bob McDonnell case, that fact pattern does not establish bribery or honest services fraud. Absent a smoking gun document or audio recording memorializing a specific quid pro quo, it's hard to imagine what would. So that's our Supreme Court that passed a law which makes a federal jury almost unable to convict somebody that has all the evidence in the world that these charges are true. But they have made it where they have to have a recording or a specific document, which is ridiculous. So that's on the Supreme Court. So I think I'm through ranting about Menendez, Howie.
Okay. I know we're all over the board here. I just wanted for the Sylvester Stallone, it was a 14-year-old girl. It was Long Island. Her name is Stephanie Iris Weiss. Her Twitter handle is @echo ECO sexuality. And if you look her up, you'll see her story of her I'm thinking confrontation, not confrontation. Her whatever with Sylvester Stallone, her little meeting. She's tweeting out something happened to her when she was 14 years old. I mean, nothing physically happened to her, but Sylvester Stallone basically made a pass at her.
Well, as they say, more will be revealed, and you know, hopefully, what's going to take up the news cycle forgetfulness is prosecutions. You know, and they have to, anything that's prosecutional. Or prosecutable, rather, is that a word? Needs to be prosecuted, and until they start filing charges, and yeah, civil suits too will send a message. But this victims coming forward, I think the most important, or survivors coming forward, the most important part of this is that criminal charges be filed, if that's possible, and most of these cases it is possible. Like, as far as I understand, child rape, there is no statute of limitations. So, and if they can't be prosecuted on a local level, you would think that would be a federal violation of a person's civil rights to be raped. I would think. Well,
so. Listen. We're not the only ones that know all this, and law enforcement knows it, and they've known about it for a long time. They have to be planning a strategy how to deal with all this. Because it's going to be like, I don't know, tens of thousands of people, high profile people, big names with big money and lots of lawyers. This is complicated stuff. But the main thing is that the people, the citizens of we the people, stick together and keep putting the pressure on. And as much has been revealed over the last couple of months. We're only scratching the surface.
Wow. And Kathy was right. So I guess she was at the DOE maybe yesterday or something. Maybe that stuff wasn't real time. But there's a video of Hillary walking out of a Broadway show, and what I'm tweeting it out now. But the person said it reminded him of the last scene in Sunset Boulevard. Are you familiar with that movie? So yeah, Hillary's enjoying a play before her. I think she's still wearing that ankle monitor brace, whatever, on her foot. Boulevard. Okay.
I got something for her.
Yep. So Kathy was correct. Looks like she's on Broadway.
Okay.
So we're just about done here.
Yeah. We're limping to the finish line.
Yes, we are.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, long week, So
absolutely.
We're gonna recharge and reload, and we'll hit them with both barrels
and please check out those on Twitter. Check out Pedogate News. Lots of articles still being tweeted there. Some pretty horrific ones also. Just a little plug for that.
Music. That means we're done.
All right.
Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.